So it's a beautiful autumn day. It's a little bit damp, but it's still absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just about to go and do the rounds, and I thought you'd like to come with me. So I don't know what the temperatures are yet, because I haven't been over to the polytunnel, and that's where I've got my thermometer that does the external temperature, so I know what the temperature around the farm is, and then also the internal temperature of the polytunnel. But that's on my list after I've done this. So in my last video, the last part of it, you'll have seen that we had a lovely day out yesterday in Chirk Castle, at Chirk Castle. It was absolutely lovely. And the other thing that I touched on was that I'd bought new rugs for the horses. So they were turned out in their new rugs last night, and I want to double check that everything's okay this morning. Obviously I fitted the rugs to them, but they knew they haven't worn them before, so just want to check that I've fitted them correctly. There's nothing rubbing, nothing slipped. And I've also moved them, so they've been for quite some time now in one of the top fields, and now I've got them in the field which is kind of behind me. It's one of the middle fields. It's between the paddock next to the house and the field that slopes away that we often use for winter grazing for the sheep. So we're going to go and check on the sheep, pony and the horses, check that they're all okay, that they've had a good night, and check the boys' rugs, and obviously checking on water as well. So you can see the sheep behind me there. There's actually 4. There's one up there and then the other 3. And the eagle eyes of you may have spotted a while ago, although nobody's mentioned anything, that I'm talking about 4 sheep now and not 5. So one of our sheep, she just got old. She wasn't so great, and sadly we had to say goodbye to her. And that actually happened a while ago. But we'd had a bit of a succession of sad things to tell you, and bad things happening, and I just wasn't ready to kind of talk about it. So we've still got the 4. Those of you that are new to my channel, they're Wiltshire Horn pedigree ewes. We originally planned to breed from them. That's a whole nother story. But essentially they're just pet sheep, and they do a lovely job here, helping to, when I move the horses on, the sheep go onto the grazing. They help to keep the grazing good, and they're beautiful. They're lovely to look at. So yeah, we're down to 4, but they're doing absolutely fine. So we're going to check on those. Little pony has ended up back in his starvation paddock, not because we intended him to be in there, but because it had flushed up a little bit. He's been in here. They'd all been in yesterday. We'd left that gate open because we'd been sorting out the water trough and various other bits and pieces, and he decided to go in there last night when we turned him out, and he didn't want to come back out, so I'm going to let him out this morning, and then go up and check on the big boys. So here in the polytunnel, it's 12.7 degrees and it's 10.6 outside, and the maximum temperature over the last probably 48 hours, because I didn't zero it out yesterday, was 30.7 in here and 19.4 outside, and we have had some really strong sun. Ooh, and then the minimum temperatures in here 4.8, but outside 3.1, so the temperature's really been dropping overnight, and it's feeling quite chilly, and it's chilly inside the cottage. So I'm going to get some kindling and I'm going to get a fire started. Everything seems fine in here, and I've got a lot of paperwork and catching up to do at the house today. I may get out, see what the weather does, and get some more weeding and gardening done later today, and if I do, I will take you with me. But certainly over the coming weeks, I'm really going to be getting more and more done over here, and catching up with myself, ready for the spring. I am swimming this afternoon. I'll be lake wild swimming probably around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. And yes, I am putting my wetsuit on now because the water temperatures are starting to drop. And I can swim in what we refer to as skins, so essentially a swimming costume. But by putting my wetsuit on, it just means I get to stay in a bit longer, and it just makes it all a little bit more enjoyable. And for me, it's not a competition, it's about enjoying the experience. So I am certainly not ashamed to admit that I put my wetsuit on even now. You know, some people hold out, or some people don't use them at all, and there's a bit of bravado there, but for me it's about enjoying the experience. So yes, I will have my wetsuit on, and probably my wetsuit gloves and a bobble hat, but that'll be for this afternoon. But just while we're here at the polytunnel and I've been talking about temperatures, this mesh door, those of you that have been watching me for a long time will know that come the pre the temperatures really dropping, I actually cover this mesh over and seal this door up with some battens and some insulation, so that it really keeps the heat in. And then I use the sliding door at the back through the winter months, because that is polythene top and bottom. So we seal this one up and I use the sliding door. So we'll be doing that over the next sort of days or weeks before the real cold temperatures come. Just to, as I say, to keep what's growing in there doing okay. And the other thing I need to do is bring in the potatoes that I'd sown or grown or planted into the tubs. They need to come into the polytunnel as well, to protect them from those really cold snaps. So let's get some kindling and get this fire going. So while that fire gets going, I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, and then I'm just going to crack on with the day. And it's stuff that's probably not particularly interesting to look at, so a little bit of journaling, catching up with myself. I've got some appointments that I need to arrange and a couple that need rearranging, just that kind of thing. So that's what I'll be doing for the next couple of hours. I've been really busy since I last filmed, but I'm hoping to collate it all together so that you've got a video, because I know it's been a little while. So there's some footage before this, and then also I've been to Leeds, and I will show you that footage next. So what I'm going to do while I tell you about it is I've got these tomatoes that I really want to get the last of them in now, and I'm going to show you, because I showed you the start of making a tomato sauce, so I'm going to be making another one, and this time I'll be able to film the whole process. So you've seen how I start it off, but I wanted to show you what I do at the end as well. Ooh, that one was squishy. So you've seen how I start the process, but this time I'll be able to show you the end of that process as well. Oh, that one's not so good. So I'll be getting in the good tomatoes, and this really will be the last of them now, because it is now we're halfway through November, so I really need to get these in and get them processed. So I will insert some footage after this. As I say, I've been to Leeds. So every year, the company that I work for, which is Vets Now, as management, we have to go to our annual leaders meetings, which are really, really useful. And I know, a lot of people get sent on these kind of corporate events, and it's all just a bit boring. But to be fair, that one's a bit squishy. It's really, really useful, and we get to meet lots of people from across the country, people that work in the same role as me and different roles, and we kind of can merge all that information. It's a really good social event as well as learning. And then so that's on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday and the Friday we have our annual Emergency and Critical Care Congress, which is a big conference with lectures and workshops, and we have again a social event. We have a really lovely gala dinner which is always themed, and this year it was the animal kingdom, and they do encourage us to dress up, and we just had an absolutely lovely time. So I've not long come back from that, and work has been crazy busy, but I'm always telling you work has been crazy busy. But I've actually I instigated a meeting with my line manager, and we had a really good old chat about the fact that things are just so busy at work, and it really had tipped my work-life balance the wrong way. So for the last couple of months, really, it's just been kind of work, appointments, work. And I haven't really done a lot in between. I mean, I've managed to do things, I've managed to squeeze things in, don't get me wrong. I'm certainly not ungrateful for all the lovely things I've managed to do, but I seem to have lost that quiet time that I had to myself at home, and that's really important to me, and I think it's really important to everybody, because you can sustain working like that for a certain period of time, but then you're just going to burn out. So we're into November, and going forward we're starting to drop some of my clinical shifts. So I'll still be working my clinical shifts, because I'll never not want to get my hands on the patients and nurse, but I'll be doing less of those shifts to account for the fact that I'm doing more management hours. So going forward I'm going to have more time, and I've mentioned in previous videos that really my vegetable plot's got a little bit behind, it's all got a little bit on top of me, but I've now got the winter months, and I'm going to have the time to really catch up. And there's a lot of positives, as I've said previously, going on in here, and the first of those positives is all of these fabulous tomatoes. So it's blowing an absolute hoolie here. I think it's Storm Debbie or Deborah. And I've just finished stacking some logs in the woodshed. We had a log delivery this morning. All the animals are okay. I'm battening down the hatches. But the tomatoes are cooked right down now. They've been slow cooking all day. So let's go and have a look at them and let's get this sauce finished. So I've switched the crock pot off now, but you can see, look at that. That's cooked down absolutely beautiful. And I, as I say, switched the pot off about an hour ago. So that's now cool enough for me to blend. So I've just moved it over onto the stove so that I can get to it really. But look at that, lovely. So if you haven't seen the video where I started this, it's a couple of videos back in one of my weekly vlogs. But essentially all I did was throw into this crock pot a whole load of whole homegrown tomatoes, a chopped onion, a teaspoon of brown sugar, and you could use honey, and some salt and pepper and a little bit of oil, and that's it. Just a little drizzle of I use olive oil. And then I've slow cooked that for about 5-6 hours, switched it off, and now it's cool. It's still warm, but it's cool enough that it's safe to put my whizzer, so the hand blend into, and it's that simple. So I'm now going to whiz it up, and then when it's completely cold, I will just decant it into, I use reusable, let me show you, hold on. So I've had these for about 2 years now, and they're just little zippy bags, and they hold a decent amount, and I wash them out and I just keep reusing them, and that's what I use to freeze all of my homegrown vegetables and sauces and soups. So I'm just going to take the fork out, and then I'm going to blend it. And that is it. And that in itself would make a delicious soup. Or I can use it for a sauce for something like a lasagna, or any tomato-based dish. And that will bag up into multiple bags, and it's going to go an awfully long way. So the storm is really getting going outside now. I can see all the branches of the trees are moving, and every now and then there's a flurry of leaves rattling against the window. So I think I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, and me and Kaylee are going to hunker down for a few hours. Chris is still at work, so I'm just hoping he gets home safely, but he has gone to work in the truck, so he should be fine getting home. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and there's going to be lots more gardening coming up. So for those of you that enjoy the gardening over the winter months, as I say, there's going to be a lot more gardening. I'm jolly glad we haven't got the greenhouse up at the moment, because I'd be worried sick with this storm. And then that is something we're going to have to really carefully consider as to where we do locate. I've got ideas where I want to put the greenhouse. The polytunnel, fingers crossed, so far has survived 6 years. So I'm hoping we can find a good place to put that greenhouse, but that's something that's going to be coming up over the winter months. The asparagus beds, getting back on top of all the other beds. I'm going to either be buying, well, I will be buying in bulk. It's just a case of whether I'm buying in bags or whether I can get a load delivered. I need some more wood chip or bark chip for the pathways, maintenance, getting back on top of things, but there will be some growing through the winter months as well. And of course, all the other things that go on in my
Rue's life. So thank you so much to those of you that have stuck with me. I know that I've been absent for a while, and also that the format of my channel and my videos has changed, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bits that a lot of you have stayed with me. I know for some it wasn't their cup of tea, and that's fine. You know, there's a place for all of us and everybody's different. And I know a lot of people came over to me originally for the growing and the gardening because they came directed from other growing and gardening channels. But I just wanted to be true to what I always wanted to do, and the reason I always started this channel, and that was more of a lifestyle vlog. And going forwards, I want to show more of slow and deliberate living. Some years ago, before I met Chris, and I was living on my own, I was living a much slower and simpler life. And one of the reasons that Chris was kind of attracted not just to me, but to coming to live in North Wales with me, was that slower, simpler lifestyle. And somewhere along the lines, we've got swept back into a lifestyle or a life that's a little bit too work heavy for both of us and a little bit too, dare I say, social media heavy, technology heavy. It's just tipped a little bit the wrong way. So I'm taking steps to slow things down and get back to living my true and best life, which is, you know, getting outside, enjoying the fresh air, enjoying the rhythm and cycle of nature and life, that slow living and slower pace, being really in touch with the seasons and the changing seasons, and kind of listening and learning from nature. And I lost my way a little bit with that. So going forward, that's where we're going to be, a much slower paced and more deliberate lifestyle. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, please stay watching. So there'll be lots of gardening and cooking and baking, thrift shopping or charity shopping, living a greener lifestyle, recycling, upcycling, crafting, all the things that really make me happy. And I just want to share that journey with you. So thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel and you like what you've seen so far, please do consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and do drop me a comment below because I love to hear from you all. So it's time to put that kettle on and get myself a cup of tea, and I'll catch up with you all again really, really soon.